Now to this story. A lot of questions are swirling around Democratic donor Ed Buck after two men were found dead in his West Hollywood apartment.
CBS2 investigative reporter David Goldstein confronted him. Now joins us with the reaction. David.
Yeah, a lot of questions tonight. Well, over the years, Ed Buck has been known as a campaign fundraiser for top Democrats, but his name now is more synonymous with the deaths of two men in his West Hollywood apartment. Now, Buck hasn't been charged with any crimes, and he hasn't been asked the tough questions until now. Why don't you answer any questions? You had two people who died in your house.
Because you're being an
Ed Buck was blunt, not answering any questions. The wealthy political donor who's hobnobbed with the likes of Hillary Clinton and Jerry Brown wasn't talking when we confronted him about what happened in his West Hollywood apartment that left two men dead. Can I ask you, can you answer the question, sir? Is it a coincidence that two men have died in your apartment? Why are you walking backwards, sir?
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Why should I be ashamed of myself, sir? I'm not touching you at all, sir. West Hollywood residents have been calling for Buck's arrest outside his apartment.
What do we want? Justice!
And letting their voices be heard at City Hall. But for the past year and a half, the elusive Buck hasn't been seen much, and his windows are covered up inside the second-story unit, never answering questions about Timothy Dean, who died in that very apartment last month. An autopsy is still pending on the cause of death. Or Jamel Moore, who died of what authorities determined was an accidental drug overdose in Buck's apartment in July of 2017. Moore allegedly wrote in his diary, quote, "I've become addicted to drugs. Ed Buck is the one to thank. He gave me my first injection of crystal meth." Mr. Buck, is it a coincidence that two men have died in your apartment? Can you tell me that? Mr. Moore said that you injected him with drugs. Did you inject him with drugs, sir? Buck hasn't been charged with any crimes. After Dean's death, L.A. County Sheriff Alex Villanueva called for a secondary review of the tragic death of Jamel Moore and added all findings will be submitted to the L.A. County DA's office for review and determination as to whether the actions of Mr. Buck warrant criminal filings.
I do believe he's responsible for his death.
Jasmine Canick is a community activist who's written about the case. Who is Ed Buck?
Ed Buck is a major donor to Democrats here in the state of California. He's a LGBT and Q and an HIV/AIDS activist. He's a white man who has a thing for young black men.
While Buck stays mostly in his apartment, on this day, our surveillance cameras caught him coming out to meet the UPS truck. Then he drove to this nearby 7-Eleven and met up with this black man, probably in his 20s, who was eating an ice cream. They went inside for about an hour, then left to go to the Beverly Center, where we tried to talk with him. Mr. Buck, I'm David Goldstein with CBS2 News, sir. Sir, what's going on in your apartment, sir? Can you tell us that? Do you think your political influence is keeping you a free man now, sir? Is this young man who's with you now, is he in any harm? Is he in any harm, this young man that's with you? The man he was with stood off to the side, not wanting to be on TV. You know who he is, right? That's all, okay. That's all I want to know. But through it all, Buck didn't explain what happened in his apartment that left two men dead. Why don't you answer any questions? You had two people who died in your house.
because you're being an
Sir, I'm asking questions. Now, sheriff's officials have no timetable on their investigation. The autopsy report on Timothy Dean perhaps will provide a roadmap of where this case is headed. So far, that hasn't been completed. And again, Buck hasn't been charged with any crimes. Obviously, he's a free man.
And, all right, still we see him with young men.
He was out with young men to the Beverly Center, but, you know, we saw them going shopping, and that's it. We asked him about it. We asked that young man. He said he knew who Mr. Buck was.
All right. Well, good work. Really good work. As always, thank you, David.
Thanks David.
we want